Before the clash of claw and consciousness, before the roar of the spiked titan echoed through the valleys, there was a spark, a being unlike any other. Not beast, not man. Something in between. Something destined to shape the fate of the prehistoric world. The wind howled across the jagged cliffs, carrying with it the scent of ash and moss. Beneath the canopy of ancient trees, the world pulsed with life. Feral, untamed, and unforgiving. Creatures crawled, slithered, and soared, each locked in a silent war for survival. But deep within the shadows of a volcanic valley, something stirred. Not a beast. Not a man. A hybrid. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dusk, reflecting the flicker of distant lightning. Limbs long and sinewy, skin mottled with patches of hardened scales and coarse hair, the creature crouched low, listening. It was alone, but not lonely. It was born of silence, shaped by storms, and driven by instinct sharpened into thought. The elders of forgotten tribes would one day whisper of this being, Giant Manush, the giant human. But in this moment, it had no name. Only hunger. Only curiosity. It moved through the underbrush with the grace of a predator and the caution of prey. Every step was calculated, every breath measured. It had learned to mimic the calls of birds, to track the scent of water, to recognize the rustle of danger. But what set it apart was not its body, it was its mind. Fire had come to it not by accident, but by observation. It had watched the sky split open, watched trees ignite, and wondered. It had gathered dry leaves, struck stones, and waited. When the first spark danced, it did not flinch. It fed it, nurtured it, worshipped it. Shelter followed. Not a cave, but a structure, and reacted violently to sudden sounds. It was not mindless. It was cautious. The hybrid began to test. A thrown stone, a mimicry of a predator's call, a trail of bait. Each time the porcupine responded. Sometimes with aggression, sometimes with retreat. It was learning. And so was the hybrid. One night, beneath a blood-red moon, the hybrid approached the sleeping beast. It carried a spear tipped with obsidian, its body painted with ash to mask scent. It stepped lightly, heart pounding. But the porcupine stirred. Its quills rose like 1,000 daggers. Eyes met. Time froze. The hybrid did not attack. It lowered its weapon. The porcupine did not charge. It turned slowly and vanished into the mist. That moment became legend. The hybrid returned to its shelter, not with a kill, but with knowledge. It carved a new symbol, a spiral within a spiral, the first record of respect, of coexistence. Years passed. The hybrid grew older, wiser. It taught others, beings like itself, born of anomaly and adaptation. Together, they formed a tribe, not of dominance, but of balance. They learned to live alongside the porcupine, to avoid its paths, to honor its strength. Songs were sung, dances performed, stories told. The beast became a symbol, not of fear, but of nature's power. And the hybrid became a leader, not by force, but by vision. Its legacy would echo through time, etched into stone, whispered in wind, remembered in firelight. Before civilization, before language, before gods, there was thought. There was respect. There was the first human. And there was the giant porcupine. Long after the footprints faded, long after the quills were buried beneath moss and time, the story remained. Not as a memory, but as a seed, planted in the minds of those who came after. A tale of balance, of respect, of what it meant to be human. The fire crackled softly, casting flickering shadows on the cave walls. Children sat cross-legged, eyes wide, as the elder traced symbols into the dust. Spirals, jagged lines, the mark of the porcupine, the handprint of the hybrid. These were not just drawings, they were echoes. The elder's voice was low, weathered by time. There was a time, he said, when man was not yet man, when the world was ruled by beasts and the mind was still learning to dream. He spoke of the hybrid, the first of its kind, a being born not of tribe or bloodline, but of necessity, a creature that learned not to conquer, but to coexist, that faced the giant porcupine not with rage, but with reverence. The children leaned closer as he described the encounter. The silence, the standoff, the choice. They could have destroyed each other, the elder whispered, but they didn't. They saw something in one another. A reflection, a warning, a promise. Outside, the forest stirred. The wind carried the scent of rain and old leaves. Somewhere, deep in the underbrush, a porcupine moved, smaller now, less fearsome, but still carrying the legacy of its ancestor. The hybrid's descendants had changed. Their bodies grew smaller, more agile, their minds sharper. They built tools, homes, languages. They painted stories on cave walls, sang songs to the stars, buried their dead with care. But they never forgot. The symbol of the porcupine remained, etched into stone, carved into bone, painted on skin. It became a sign of wisdom, of restraint, of the power that lies in stillness. In some tribes, warriors wore quills as a mark of honor, not for killing, but for surviving. In others, the porcupine was a guardian spirit, invoked in times of conflict to remind leaders of the cost of pride. The hybrid became myth. Some said it was the child of the moon and the mountain. Others claimed it still walked the earth, watching, guiding, waiting. But the truth was simpler and more profound. The hybrid was the first to choose understanding over violence, and that choice changed everything. As generations passed, the story evolved. The porcupine became a dragon, the hybrid, a god, the forest, a sacred realm. But at its core, the tale remained the same. Survival is not about strength alone. It is about wisdom, about knowing when to fight and when to listen. One day, a young hunter stood at the edge of the same ravine where the encounter had taken place. He carried a spear, his body painted with ash. He had heard the stories, sung the songs, but he wanted proof. He waited. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, he saw it. Not the giant of legend, but a creature still formidable. A porcupine, large and silent, moving with the same deliberate grace. The hunter did not raise his weapon. He tapped the ground 3 times. The porcupine paused, then continued on its way. The hunter returned to his village, not with a kill, but with a story. And so the cycle continued. The hybrid was gone. The porcupine diminished. But the legacy endured. In every act of mercy, in every moment of restraint, in every choice to understand rather than destroy, the story lived on. Not as a myth, but as a memory. A memory of the first time man looked into the eyes of a beast and saw himself. It was not war. It was not chaos. It was something older, something deeper. A test of instinct against intelligence, of armor against awareness. In the heart of the valley, 2 forces met, not to conquer, but to survive. The sun hung low, bleeding orange across the sky. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The hybrid crouched behind a cluster of stone pillars, eyes fixed on the clearing below. It had waited for this moment, prepared for it. But now, as the giant porcupine emerged from the shadows, the weight of reality pressed down like a mountain. The beast was magnificent. Its quills shimmered like obsidian blades, catching the dying light in flashes of menace. Each step it took was deliberate, heavy, and final. It did not look around. It did not sniff the air. It knew it was alone. It knew it was feared. The hybrid's heart pounded, not with fear, but with focus. It had studied the creature for moons, mapped its patterns, tested its reactions. It had crafted weapons, spears tipped with stone, nets woven from sinew, traps hidden beneath leaves. But none of it mattered now. This was not a hunt. This was a confrontation. The porcupine paused near the stream, lowering its massive head to drink. The hybrid moved silently, circling from the east, staying downwind. It stepped over roots, ducked beneath branches, every motion rehearsed 100 times. But the beast sensed something. It lifted its head, quills rising slightly. Its eyes scanned the trees, not with panic, but with precision. It turned slowly, facing the direction of the hybrid's approach. The hybrid froze. For a moment, time fractured. The forest faded. The stream stilled. Only 2 beings remained, one born of instinct, the other of thought. The hybrid stepped forward, revealing itself. The porcupine did not charge. It did not retreat. It simply watched. The hybrid raised its spear, not to strike, but to signal. It tapped the ground 3 times. A rhythm it had used before. A message. A pattern. The porcupine shifted its weight, quills lowering slightly. The hybrid took another step. Then another. Suddenly a branch snapped beneath its foot. The porcupine reacted instantly. Quills flared, body twisted, and with a thunderous roar of motion, it launched a volley of spikes. The hybrid dove, rolling behind a boulder. Quills embedded in the stone, inches from its face. It breathed heavily, heart racing. This was no longer a test. It was survival. The porcupine advanced, slow, but relentless. Its eyes locked onto the hybrid's position. It was not enraged. It was resolved. The hybrid knew it had seconds. It grabbed a pouch from its belt, scattering ash into the air. The wind carried it toward the beast, clouding its vision. The porcupine paused, disoriented. The hybrid seized the moment. It leapt from cover, hurling a net toward the beast's legs. The net tangled briefly, slowing the creature, but only briefly. With a violent shake, the porcupine shredded the net, quills slicing through the fibers. The hybrid retreated, ducking into the underbrush. It knew the terrain. It had prepared escape routes. But the beast was adapting. It moved faster now, more aggressively. The chase began. Through the forest they ran, one with brute force, the other with agility. The hybrid vaulted over fallen logs, slid beneath hanging vines, darted through narrow gaps. The porcupine crashed through obstacles, unstoppable. But the hybrid had one advantage: foresight. It had placed markers there, symbols etched into stone. A trap. As the porcupine entered the pass, the hybrid triggered a mechanism. A series of weighted logs swung down, blocking the exit. The beast was trapped. It turned, eyes blazing, quills raised. The hybrid stood at the edge, breathing heavily. It did not raise its weapon. It did not speak. It simply watched. The porcupine lowered its quills, breathing heavily. For a moment, they stared at each other. 2 survivors, 2 legends. Then the hybrid stepped back, opening a path. The porcupine hesitated, then walked past. No battle, no blood, just understanding. The forest exhaled. The hybrid returned to its shelter, carving a new symbol, a spiral within a jagged line. Conflict and peace, power and restraint. The tribe gathered, listening to the tale. Songs were sung, dances performed. The encounter became myth. But the hybrid knew the truth. It had not won. It had not lost. It had survived. And in that survival, it had found something greater than victory. It had found respect.